Is there anything that people were expecting to do much better than it ended up doing, and your model predicted that? Anything that sort of underperformed relative to what you saw in the ecosystem?
Oh man, well, I'm public about it, so I could talk about it. I feel like my feelings be known. Indiana Jones. Man, this is another SGF thing from last year. I will say it did not rank in the top 50 games coming out of SGF last year, and that's crazy thinking how much attention it got during the Xbox showcase last year. It was one of the more like featured games, and it generated no increased mind share coming out of that. And so the question goes, okay, so it's a bit of a sign when you do this and you don't see anything. So kind of fast forward, we're like, well, they're releasing in December. What else is coming on December? This train that could not be stopped, Marvel Rivals. We are on Marvel Rivals really, really early. And what we would say about that, and I think the case study that is very true for Marvel Rivals, and I'll touch on this, a little bit, is that it every time they gave people the game to play via the alpha and beta, demand and mindshare grew like crazy. It was like it just shot out of a cannon. So every time people actually played the game, they were sold on the game, is what that would tell me, right?
Yeah.
And those were two of the major beats throughout the campaign. So we knew, like, oh, coming out in December, this game is going to be a beast. Now, one of the surprises, because surprises do happen in the industry, PoE decided to release PoE 2 Early
Right.
Access the same week, right on top of Marvel Rivals. So you had these two gargantuan games, and both of them succeeded.
Yeah.
And in the space that we like, what Mind Game really is doing is that we're trying to quantify the attention economy in gaming, right? So what we tell our partners all the time is, you look at a release window and you think you're competing against just what's coming out at the same time as you. That could not be more false. You are first competing against everything that exists out before then, right?
Yeah.
So if we were to be honest about the market, 85% of player attention is going to be on games that are already out. They're not going to leave because there's, I always call it the three layers of switching costs. The switching cost of, I paid for this game, or I've put as much money into the virtual currency system. So for me to leave it, there's a sunk cost for me to leave it. So that's like switching cost one. Switching cost two is time and skill. I've put in my 10,000 hour Malcolm Gladwell hours into this thing. I am the best at this game. So for my skill, it's a hard thing to me to switch off this game. And the third switching cost, which I think everybody in the industry undervalues, is the social networks and the social graphs these games create. People build friend groups. People build lives inside these ecosystems. Like World of Warcraft is probably an amazing case that has been written about tons, where people's lives have been real lives, like in the real world, have been impacted by what they do in World of Warcraft. Now multiply that across thousands of games where people have similar experiences, but maybe not as much PR behind it as World of Warcraft. So those three gravitational pulls are pulling on players to stay where they are at. But it's not that gamers won't play new things. So we always say there's 15% of attention up for grabs on a given week. Okay, how are they going to spend that 15%, right? So when you release Path of Exile and Marvel Rivals, that is easily like 85% of that 50% off the table to begin with. So you're left as Indiana Jones, also releasing the same week as them, who's never going to survive, given that, or never find success initially, given that we noticed that there was no demand coming into that December release, knowing that Marvel Rivals was going to win out if it was just them two, and knowing that Path of Exile just kind of dumped on top of them, and with the Path of Exile 2 early access. So there's no loser. There's always going to be loser and losers with the stuff. In that case, I would say Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And the advice I'd give game developers, one thing I tell people all the time, and publishers, is like, be willing to move your release date. Don't be anchored on it. Like, I know there's a lot of challenges with that, especially the bigger the organization, the harder it is to move your release date for a variety of reasons. But you can save your games like by millions of players by just shifting it by 2 weeks one way or 2 weeks the other way. Literally, we have done this case study over and over and over again for people, our partners, to show them like the impact of just moving your game out of a way of things. Like monster games will impact your TAM by drawing in millions of more players who are there to play your game at that moment in time, right? So If I were Indiana Jones, I would have moved your game to January, knowing that, yes, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, another game we had tracked very early on, was going to be a big game. But, like, you could have cohabitated with that game very easily versus going against Marvel Rival.
Does this sound familiar? You're in a leadership role at a game studio. Everyone is busy working, no one has any time, but the actual game itself isn't in a good spot. Maybe it's the tech, maybe it's the lack of a validated prototype, maybe it's that every person seems to have a different idea about what we're trying to build. But you've got a job. There are reports to send, meetings to schedule and facilitate, the occasional season of performance reviews to go through. And everyone is always so busy. When you step back, it makes you wonder if everyone is just going to keep slowly walking towards the abyss until the project or game fails. Is this what it means to be a leader in games? In tech? To endlessly repeat the same sequence of meetings without really moving the needle? To spend hours trying to get Jira tickets and dashboards where they should be? To pretend that everything is fine when you know deep down it really isn't? It doesn't have to be this way. You can make a difference. You can help your team and game succeed, but sometimes you need a bit of help to get there. I've started a game dev leadership accelerator. It aims to level up leaders who see opportunities to make a difference but don't know how to capitalize on them. We'll walk through what it means to lead well and give you tools to understand your organization's challenges and implement changes to overcome them. Game dev is hard. Knowing how to lead will give you an edge. It will still be hard, but you'll be ready to tackle it. If you're interested, let me know below, hit the link. I hope to see you in the accelerator because I believe better leaders will help teams make better games, and I look forward to someday playing what you create.